just because you love it or you're excellent at it, but there's only going to be a couple things on there. So I'll give you the cheat sheet. There's only going to be one or two things on there that you're like the best in the world at.
So it's like an analogy. Like DJ is the baddest mother effer on the phones. I'm sure he hates it, but that is a unique capability of him on the phone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever you're the best in the world at. Next, I want you to go and put a little E next to what you're excellent at. Like, I am excellent at this. Like, I excel at this. There's a handful of things that you're the best in the world at. There's another few things that you're excellent at. And then the next list, I want you to go through and I want you to put a C next to the things that you do that you're competent at. What are you competent at? And then the last, put an I for incompetent. Things that you're doing that you have no business doing. Like, I have no clue what I'm doing. Why am I even doing this? Now, if you have a team around you, you have admins, there's a good chance you don't have very many of those incompetent activities. If you've done this exercise before, if you've delegated tasks, there's probably not any incompetent activities on there. I hope there's not. If there is, those are your first things that you've got to get off your plate. The reason I want you to create this awareness, right? Create this awareness because these are going to start to be some of the items that you're looking at when we get into jamming with Joel this afternoon, when you're looking at next key hires on some of the activities that need to start to build out the roles in the new job description. We don't want any incompetent activities. We don't want any competent activities. We want excellent activities and always what we're the best in the world at. You'll never delegate what you're the best in the world at. If you're excellent at it and it really drives the company forward, maybe. For me, what I want to work towards, and the team knows this, I only want to lead, I want to coach, and I want to create content. The team knows that if I'm doing anything outside of that, we have to work to get those off my plate. That's where I want you guys to get to. What are you the best in the world at? What are the one or two things that if, just this thing about this. If you spent 80% of your time, 168 hours in a week, back out, sleeping, taking care of ourselves, let's just say that's 100 hours. Could you imagine if you spent 80 hours a week doing what you're the best in the world at? What would your life look like? What would your life look like? Now, let's put it on the business side of things. Let's say you spend 50 hours a week on business. Our rule of thumb is 70% on the activities that drive our business forward. But what if you spent 80%, 70 to 80% of your working time on the 2 to 3 things that you're the best in the world at, that really drive and grow the company forward? No matter what, if you have a team, all of you guys are wanting to build organizations, increase headcount, so your number one thing is leadership. Always, number one. Number two is probably going to be the thing that moves your life forward. So for me, it's coaching. And then you're always head of marketing. Even if you have somebody in the head of marketing role, you're always head of marketing. You drive the strategy for marketing. That's why I just want to create content. And I mean, really, if I could just, if I could just lead and create content, that would be awesome. But right now, it has to be lead, coach, create content.
Where does vision fit?
Personally,
To me, it's leadership. Because our roles as a leader, number one responsibility is to have a vision.
So you're putting that under your leadership. That's what I was just curious.
Yep. It has to be leadership. Remember, so as a leader, we got to have a vision. We got to be able to articulate the vision. We got to build the team, and we got to remove the obstacles for the team. Now, our key functions, our key roles as the leader is, what are we responsible for? We're responsible for culture, we're responsible for people, and we're responsible for the numbers. Every one of you in here has to have those things. So when you say, hey, what do I do day to day? Well, you have your vision, you articulate your vision, you build the team, you remove obstacles, you focus on culture, you focus on your people, and you focus on the numbers. Okay? So I want you to have this list. Remember, it's an exercise. It's something that you need to be thinking about all the time. All the time. Because I promise you, as soon as this list gets cut in half, it's gonna double back in size.
Yeah.
Always. That's why you have to always do it. It's an exercise. It's like going to the gym. So get into a rhythm of that, paying attention to it, okay? So I talked to you guys a little bit yesterday about the coaching thing. I kind of called this, I threw it out there. Hillsman, I think, knows more about it than anybody. But I threw this out there, shit, Dan, how long ago has it been? 6 months ago? A little bit longer than that. So when I started laying out the vision to where we were going to go, so our 3 years is $6 million in revenue. I shared that with you guys last time when we did the 10 times exercise. How many of you guys remember the 10 times exercise? So I used Mike as an example last time. Justin was in the room. This is where Justin went from 4 to 40. So the exercise is, what did you do in revenue last year? So Mike, what was yours?
Mine was 270.
So his 10 times challenge was 2.7. So Mike was like, well, shit, I wasn't even thinking that big. Well, none of us think that big unless you go through exercises that force us to think big. So that's where Justin was, right? They did 4 million last year, and so it was 10 times to get to 40. By when? And then that exercise is that you have to write out as if it already happened. So what happened that got you to 2.7? That got you to 40? What happened? Hey, the vision, we took over this space, we did, we closed out this many transactions, we had this many in our organization, we did this, we did this, we did this. So what happens when you start thinking that way? What do you ignite? Hey, Joel, I'm thinking about getting a black Escalade. Guess what I get to start seeing from now on?
Black Escalade.
It's the same thing with our business. You have to let that reticular activator fire. That's why the vision boards are so powerful. That's why you can't say, I'm a poor leader. That's why you can't say, I don't deserve. Because guess what? Guess what you start to see? You get to start seeing poor leadership. You get to start seeing everything you don't deserve. You guys have to be careful with this. It is so freaking powerful. And you have to look at it this way with your life. You have to look at it this way with your business. So the coaching thing, right? I told you my evil plan is not that I want to, take over the world with certified coaches. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create like gangsta coaches. Just because you can sell 200 million in production doesn't mean you can coach another human being.
Yeah. If that was the case, every good player would be a good coach.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, how many Tiger Woods coaches were better than him?
And remember, the only thing easier than getting a real estate license is saying you're a coach. Well, it's actually harder to become a home inspector than it is to get your real estate license. All right, so this is like nobody has even seen this. Me and Dee are the only ones that have seen this. And the only reason, Dee knows because she's my right hand, and she had to build the slides, so she gets to see it. So like, I've only seen the slides on my phone, so this is gonna be the first time going through this with you guys. So this is kind of what we're looking at. We're looking to develop the coaching skills. I also believe that you can't coach another human until you can coach yourself first. Right? Right things, right order. That's where coach code is. There's a code and a sequence to unlock anything in our lives. Okay? And so you've got to be able to lead yourself before you can lead others. You've got to be able to coach yourself before you can coach others. And I truly believe that you have to have the tools in your toolbox and your tool belt to be able to really work through this. So we were in the very first mastermind in Aspen, and we were sitting there in that room I was having breakfast with Kinder, and he said, hey man, he goes, we need a coach for our masterminds. And at the time, you had to be doing $1 million in production to even apply to get into the room. That was the level where you had to be. And at that time, getting to $1 million in production wasn't that easy, right? You look at the percentage of doing $1 million in revenue was real small in the real estate space. So that's why the room was so attractive, because they knew where everybody was at. And we ended up becoming the place that if you wanted to go independent, you would come to us. Because I don't know how many people I've taken from out of their franchise, out of wherever they were, to go independent. And so that was the qualifications to get into that room. And he said, hey man, we need somebody to coach. Of course, I said, hey, are you going to pay me? And he's like, yeah, I'll pay you. I was like, well, I appreciate that. And because I was coaching everybody in that room already, right? Because I was still running the Lawton office, and I would get at least a phone call or two a day from everybody that was already in that room, right? You guys know Lars Hedenberg? Yep. Yeah, Lars was in that room. But Lars had flown into my office, 2 weeks before, right, to just suck up everything out of that we were doing. Jeff Cook was in that room. John Mikish was in that room. Jason Secor. Who else was in there?
Was it Harley?
Harley and
what's the television name?
Yeah, Michelle Trost Hall was in that room. God, it was an amazing room. And so what I did when he said, hey, you're going to be a coach, I started searching. Hey, how do I develop the skills to really coach? And I got plugged into a company called Coactive Coaching. And I went to Austin for the fundamentals training that really gave me the framework and the fundamentals to build a base for what I'm able to do today, and have been working off of that foundation now for over a decade. And that's where a lot of people jump in and say, hey, I'm a coach, just because I can close 200 million in production, hey, I'm a coach. But they have no framework to base it on. They have a framework of how they built their business, but they don't have a framework of how to coach a human. Does that make sense? So the understanding of where the opportunity really lies, and it's not about the opportunity in the coaching space. It could be if that's what you want to do, but it's also about having the foundation to be able to be a better leader. Because what I heard around the room consistently yesterday was, hey, I want to know how to lead my team better. I want to grow. I want to know how to lead my team better. And this was interesting. People who think they're great coaches often aren't. So that was Harvard Business Review. Just because you can coach someone doesn't mean you're a coach. So here's what we're looking at. This is straight up like foundation only. Where this will go in the future will be more hands-on to help you build your brand, to position you as a coach